How do you make the transitional area in a bloom swipe look really nice? Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Anna. Welcome back to my Fluid Art channel and thank you so much for stopping by. A couple weeks ago I did 2 little bloom swipes on these 8x8 inch canvases, and I was reminded as I was doing that when you do a bloom swipe, not a palette knife swipe, but one with a large swipe tool like this, and you swipe this way and you swipe that way, the center area is often tricky to get right because your cell activator goes this way and it goes that way, but what happens in the middle? Sometimes it just looks a little messy and you go, how do I make this look really perfect? So today I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to give you 3 different ways that you can sort of modify and accentuate and, just kind of fix that middle area so that it's not distracting and you can be totally happy with the entire piece. So my paints are not your standard bloom recipe. These are mixed with Molly's Artistry Pouring Medium, which is 2 parts US floetrol to 1 part Creative Inspirations Gloss Medium and Varnish. So I've mixed my paints, 1 part paint to 2 parts of that mixture, and then thinned it with water to get to a sort of a soft, thick, flowy consistency. It is thicker than your typical acrylic pour paint, but it still flows quite well. And that's what I have today. And my colors, they remind me of the flag of the Bahamas, which is black, turquoise, and yellow. So I've got a white cell activator, and then I have this sea glass, sort of mint metallic mica from this little piggy. And then I have Seashell, which looks white, but it shines kind of gold. So the gold kind of goes with the yellow, and the mint kind of goes with the turquoise. So I think it's going to be a really beautiful color scheme. So the 3 different ways of fixing your middle are, first of all, with a balloon kiss, second of all, brush painting, and third of all, with sort of swirling and modifications. That's what I'm going to demonstrate today. So I have a chopstick, which has sort of a nice, bigger end and a smaller end, depending on what you're looking for. But before we paint this one, let me just quickly show you again those other 2 that I did, and I'll talk you through how I fixed the centers in those 2 different ways. And after we do that, we'll come back and do the 3rd one. For my first painting, I layered my colors in a stripe down the middle, then put some cell activator onto my swiping tool. I pull back slowly and carefully to make some beautiful lacing. Now let's do it on the other side. Oh, that looks great! Now I'm going to give it a spin to stretch out the design. Looks awesome! The reason I want to do balloon kisses is because you see right here in the center, we have some strange cells where the 2 cell activator swipes sort of began and crossed into each other. So here is nice and pretty, but here to here is kind of messed up. So I think if I add just a couple of little balloon kisses, it'll help to disguise that. So I'm just going to touch it very carefully. Wow. All right, let me do another 2. And then just to balance it, I got to do another one over here, even though I don't mind the cells there. That one I pushed just a little bit harder to make a larger cell. One issue I have is that this middle one is the smallest, and I really think it should be the biggest. So I'm going to redo that one. Yeah, even just by making the middle one bigger, I think that looks better. Now it's time for the second painting. This one has a dark base, but I'm doing it exactly the same. I layered on my colors, and I am swiping with my cell activator, both upwards and downwards. Oh, that looks fantastic! Now let's give it a spin so that we can stretch out the design. This one looks so good! The middle isn't perfect, but it's close enough to perfect for me to brush paint some lacing and tie it all together. So once the painting is dried, I use my same white cell activator to add some lines and connect that middle area. You want to make it natural and organic looking, so think about copying some of the cell shapes that you see in your painting. They can be circles, triangles, diamonds, whatever. Just make sure that you round out your corners a bit and don't make them all the same size and shape. Pretty simple. So that's how you can use a balloon kiss or brush painting to fix your middle, and both are very good ways of doing it. Some work better for certain paintings, some work better for other paintings. It partly depends on how your swipe comes out. But let's move on to the third one, which is actual physical modifications by swirling with some kind of a stick. So I'm going to start with a black pillow / base coat. I'm going to spread that all over, including the sides, just to make it really easy for my design to stretch over the canvas. I'll just smooth it here on the top. Okay, that looks nice. I'm going to torch my base layer to get out some of the bubbles that are in it. Sometimes you just need to do one pass with the torch. Sometimes you need to torch, and then you torch again, and then you torch again. You just kind of wait a few seconds in between, and that helps more bubbles rise to the surface so that you can get them out. Right. I think that's pretty good for now. So now I'm going to do another diagonal one. You can always do it straight down the middle, but my other two were diagonal, and I really liked that look. So I'm going to put additional, I'm going to do it this way. Why am I doing it diagonal? That's more complicated. Additional pillow paint here in the middle. So this is going to be the bulk of the swipe that's going to flow over the canvas. And now I'm going to put my colors down, and what do I want to start with? I think I want to put some of the turquoise blue down first. Because that'll stand out well against the black. And then let's do some of the sea glass in a slightly wavy line. I missed a section up here. All right, now time for the yellow. So this is lemon yellow, and I added a little bit of white to it because otherwise it's semi-transparent and the white can help it be a little bit more opaque. Okay. And then some seashell on the top. Cool. I would love for the turquoise to be prominent, so I'm going to add just a little bit of that on top of everything. Nice. I love these colors. They're so happy and tropical looking. All right, one more torch and then I'll swipe. So in my other ones, when I was swiping, the spinner was wanting to turn. So I'm going to put this cup here to help hold it in place, just to make sure that I have a nice stable surface. Then I'm going to take my piece of plastic. This is a laminator sheet that I just ran through the laminator, so it's just a piece of plastic. Works great for swiping. So I'm going to put just a little bit of cell activator here along the edge. I like using a white cell activator on a dark base and a dark cell activator on a light base, because it just makes additional contrast, but you don't have to do that. You could use a black cell activator on a black base or a white cell activator on a white base. It doesn't really matter. All right, let's flip this over, and I'm going to touch it gently right into that middle line of paint and pull slowly back. Oh, let's get a piece of paper towel here. That way I can wipe off my swiper. All right. Let's touch it right into the middle of those colors and pull gently back. Oh yeah. So I see plenty of white, but it's opening up with a bunch of that lacing. So I'm going to wipe off my swiper. The other nice thing about using a white cell activator on a black base is you don't have to use white as one of your colors. It's already going to be in there. This is looking really pretty. I love that. Okay, let me turn it around. Get some more cell activator and we'll swipe the other side. All right, I'm going to put this basically right where the cell activator line starts from the first swipe. Touch it to that. Okay, and back we go. Nice. I pulled up slightly before the corner, but that'll be all right. So cool. So there's more yellow on this side. Oh, that's pretty. And I love how the yellow and the turquoise are making some green. I intentionally didn't really have a lot of green in here because I knew the yellow and the blue would mix and make their own green. I don't mind having the green in there. I want green. I love that tropical green. But I figured the blue and the yellow could make it, and so I didn't have to add it myself. So before I do the modifications, I'm going to spin it to get everything to stretch, because if you do the modifications and then you stretch it, your modifications will get warped. So I'm going to do the spinning first, and then once I'm happy with how the design looks, then I will add the swirls. All right, let's go ahead and spin. Cool, very cool. Just gonna keep spinning, get those cells to really open up nice and big. I'm also trying to get that swipe design to cross over the edge as much as possible. So obviously here in the middle there's plenty of paint and it's crossing over really nicely. But along the edges, trying to get some of that to cross. So let me spin it one more time and then I might start modifying. Super cool. I love it. Okay, I'm not going to stretch it any further because I like what I have, and I think the more I stretch it, the more of this kind of warping I'm going to start getting, where the center is sliding out instead of going this way. So it's time to start working on the middle. Now, as you can see, that center line is not perfect. And this, I mean, it's really close to perfect. It would be very easy to brush paint just a couple more lines and tie it all together, but I want to show you how to swirl. Swirling is kind of scary for me because on the one hand it's very easy. You just put the stick in and you're like, and on the other hand, making it look really nice is actually harder than you would think. So the question is always sort of where to begin. And there's basic swirls like this. Those are easy. And then there's some that are like S shapes, and those are kind of cool. So this center section right here, I feel like an S-shaped swirl would go well there. Wish me luck. So I'm going to start here, touch it gently. So that's kind of cool, right? Now that was using the large end of my chopstick, which I think was actually too big. I'd rather use a smaller point. But you can see how when you swirl, the cells that it touches, it kind of pulls them in. So you always want to think about, how can I continue that action of being pulled in? So like some of these cells, you can continue to pull in, and have a paper towel handy so you can wipe it off. That way you always want to think about how am I creating the illusion that this swirl, this design, is happening on its own instead of me creating it. I like how it looks like waves, because both of the waves they're sort of happening in the same direction, right? So I wonder if I have to continue to do it in S shapes, or whether I could just continue up from here and make a new little wave. And I am actually going to keep using the larger end, but I'm going to go from here and fill out this white area with a little wave. Okay, so it's continued the feeling of the wave continuing, but then some of these things just need to be neatened a little bit. Like, let's pull some of this black into that. Oh. Trying to make it look better, making it look worse in the end. So I'm going to take some of these blue cells and pull them around as though they're also flowing in. And what can get tricky is, you see, I was grabbing blue, but clearly it dipped down into the pillow color, and so it ended up being black that swirled. Now that is something that, if you are bothered by that, you could come back in when it's dry with some of the blue paint and make those swoopy colors blue instead of black. I may clean that up at some point, but for now, I really like this swirl pattern. I like the waves. So now the question is how to continue the pattern on the other side, because I went from here over to here, and that worked well. I think I'm going to have to start over here and make another little double, and then connect those two. Okay, that does not look as good, but I think I can make it look better. I think I can tie them into each other. Because part of the issue here is that these look very disconnected, whereas these ones look nice and connected. So how can I connect these? Okay, that's connected them pretty well. So I have 5, which would be great, except they're not really centered. I think I need one more over here. So I'm going to start here on this one and come that way. Which kind of breaks the pattern a little bit, but it still connects. And I can swipe up in here to continue that wave. Okay, so I've got 6 swirls. They're biggest in the middle, and they kind of get smaller as they go out, which is great. I'm going to dip my chopstick into the white and try to bring a little bit more white in here in between these two. Yeah, that looks much better. Now again, I could have done that with a brush, but sometimes it's actually easier to do it in the moment. Sometimes it is not. Now this particular swirl has gotten muddy because I kind of re-swirled it, but if it's bothering me later, I can brighten that up. Okay, I think I'm really happy. Let me look at it from this side, because I don't know color-wise which side is the more logical one to be up. I think it looks pretty good from both sides, so I'll figure that out on my own time. But that is one way to dress up the middle of a painting Now, this was a very basic swirl, but you kind of saw how I figured out how to start and then where that design needs to flow in order to fill the space, how to pull colors into it. So hopefully that was helpful, and you can experiment with all kinds of other modifications, especially if your bloom or your bloom swipe is up against some negative space. Then you can do these beautiful petals kind of pulling it out and swirling into the negative space. I didn't have negative space here, so I didn't do any of that. But there's a lot of potential for cool things that you can do with just some simple swirling. All right, let me give you a close-up. All right, here it is. Very cool. So this one, because of the way the waves are, I don't know that you'd ever want to display it as a square. I think it might always want to hang diagonally, which I think is really cool. So we have beautiful lacing in here. I love how the colors kind of glow around the edges of the lace. Love that yellow to turquoise kind of green wash that we get. And then these swirls in the middle, that one sort of second from the left is the messiest. So I may do a little bit of brush work just to get it really clean. But even without any brush touch-ups, these swirls are really cool, and they add a neat dynamic right to the middle, and they've helped us to blend in any of those messy cells that you might find in your painting. All right, let me let this dry, and we can compare the different techniques. Even though these swirls look pretty good as they are, you know that I'm kind of a perfectionist about my details. So I'm using my leftover paints from the pour to clean up some of those swirls and make it all look really great. Sometimes that means adding white or black in a swirl to add brightness or contrast. Sometimes it means evening out your colors. And sometimes it means changing the shape of your lines and your cells in order to make it look more natural. For example, these blue cells are all very warped to one direction, and I'd like to change the direction of some of them so that that swirl looks more like the swirl to the left of it. So I'm painting white over those cells to round them out, and then coming in with blue to pretend like they were pulled the opposite direction. These brush touch-ups really aren't very complicated, so don't be afraid to play around with your painting and make it look exactly how you want it. Okay, let me show you the finished paintings. Here are the first two. The metallic colors show up so well when they are dry. So here's what the balloon kisses look like. And then on the other painting, check out how natural that lacing looks in the middle. It can be a very seamless look if that's what you're going for. And then here's the third one. So this one, I just love the colors. It's so happy. So cool. And you can see, now that it's dry, the gold and the sea glass shimmering there, especially here on the sides. So what I love about those two metallics is that it doesn't add a new color to the painting, but it just kind of adds depth to the blue and the yellow that we already had. The lacing is so pretty. I will never get tired of bloom swipes. And then the swirls are really cool too, especially after I clean them up a little bit. They look nice and crisp. I'm really happy. And what's cool about it is that the wave pattern that we formed here with these, it really goes along with that Bahamas theme, so I'm happy with that. Thank you so much for joining me for this video on how to fix or dress up the middle of your bloom swipe. Let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite, and is there one of these methods that maybe you're afraid to try? I hope that I've inspired you to try something new, even if it's a little bit scary, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Bye guys!